everybody.
Hello.
We're new. No,
I'm here. Who am I? Oh wait, I'm trying to turn it this way. This always messes me up.
It's something. Welcome, you guys, to Ask Us Anything. This is us, True Mental Health, Crystal Crawford and
Dr. Janine Kraft, week 2.
Week 2 of this new Facebook Live adventure, part of the adventure.
Who knows? We're just figuring it out as we go along.
I've been recording things all day. I'm a little bit like... Well, those of you guys that are joining us live, the purpose of this whole thing is for you to just interact with us, ask us questions about anything. We are actually high Facebook user. StreamYard is terrible. It doesn't always tell us your name. So if you think about it, tell us your name, tell us where you're watching from. We are not coming into these lives with an agenda. We're actually coming in agenda-less and going, hey, what do you guys want?
This is my favorite way to do it, really.
And then right after this, we're going to jump off after we're done with you guys, and whenever that is, and we're going to go record the episodes. So trying something new.
Yeah.
Hi, Jasna.
Because last time we talked, we were like, had recorded an episode, and then we're like, hey, this is what we talked about, but we can't tell you yet because it's coming out. So just wait, So it was like kind of weird. So we're like,
we need to talk to you guys first and then take your ideas and go record episodes. Hi, Alana. So if you guys could get anything out of this 30 minutes with us, what would it be? What would you ask us? What's up in your worlds?
I've been talking about nervous system regulation like nonstop lately.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, I kind of was under the impression that people again already knew, and it was like, no, they're like, wait, how do I know when I'm dysregulated? Wait, but I try to meditate when I'm in a panic attack. Why isn't it working? I'm like, oh, wow, we need to really break this down into the simplicity of it. And so it was funny because sometimes you forget when you're just in this stuff so much that really the basics are where it's at, and nailing that down.
Yeah. So somebody's asking about money flow totally stopped by PTSD. Listen, we just recorded an episode on money. So I would, first of all, go watch that. I think we actually have 2 or 3 in our library. So on my YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, we have a whole episode on money. Last week we did it. So,
but it's, certainly relevant because within trauma, we go into so much contraction and our nervous system is just like, holding on tight. And so it definitely energetically messes things up with money, I sense.
Yeah, that's actually all I'm talking about right now is money. We're studying Right Riches for You in Salon, and the doors are open for another 7 days. I was going to close them today, but I'm going to leave them open. So if you guys want to come study, because this book starts to teach us how to generate a different reality right from where we are. Like, we don't actually have to have it together. We don't have to be out of trauma. We can just start generating something new right now. And to me, this is one of the most valuable resources I think about money, besides the How to Become Money workbook, which is my favorite of all time. What would you say about stopped by PTSD in regards to money? Where would you go with that?
Well, especially if it's trauma around, is it specifically money wounding, in the family? How did your parents handle money, and did they go into a lot of trauma and drama and limiting beliefs about it? Or if let's say all of a sudden a parent lost a job and then your whole life changed. Certainly things like that can be really dynamic on the nervous system. I'm just thinking of Schitt's Creek. Have you ever seen that show?
Yeah. Is there something on your microphone? Because all of a sudden your voice got funny, and it could be me.
Why is it fuzzy? Can you hear me now? Okay.
Going in and out of being fuzzy.
Hello? Should I put on earphones maybe?
No, that's better now. I don't know what happened. You know how these things go.
I know. We're in real time, guys.
God, what did you say? It was good.
Oh my God, Schitt's Creek. Have you seen that show?
I have, yes.
So this family is really wealthy, and then all of a sudden they lose all their money and they end up in this small town in a tiny motel, and their life is totally changed, right? And just all that contraction is so hard on the body. And if you go through something like that, then it's easy to think that it's going to happen again to you in the future. You're going to have a major loss. And then so energetically, it's hold on really tight to all the money and not be in the flow of it.
Yeah. Okay, you know what I just got? We can also have our pre-show conversation, because every time we go and record episodes, we talk about hey, what's up? So what's up for you and your people right now? What are you noticing?
Yeah. So people wanting to get more clear about nervous system stuff. And then the other thing that I'm talking about a lot lately is I'm doing a masterclass called Outcreate Your Diagnosis. So we said call one today. And because I've had a couple folks who in my memberships are struggling with not wanting to overly identify with either a physical diagnosis or an old mental health diagnosis, autoimmunity, symptoms, all that sort of stuff. So we're kind of tying all of that in.
That's really
today.
clever. So what would you say about out creating PTSD?
To detach from identifying with the label, right? You can acknowledge it. Okay, like I have these symptoms, or I'm, kind of perceiving how my body is adapting and coping. But the more I go into, I am part of the CPTSD club, stands for complex PTSD. And I've been through trauma and I've this and this and this. And the more we identify with that, we have to show up in this reality as the traumatized, victimized person. And so when you start to detach from the diagnosis, you change your reality.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Oh my God. Well, I've had to really play with, to totally change my financial reality, I had to really, really cultivate a new and different reality energetically, because I was so firmly entrenched in survival and basically my mom's reality that was so real to me.
Yeah.
That I didn't have any reference points for choosing beyond it or creating something different. So for me, it was really, really essential to use a tool like I used the How to Become Money workbook, where it's like a 3-hour class that melted all of that limited stuff in my world week after week. And that's what the workbook does. It like melts this reality and then gives you access to space and energy and the possibility of being what you are, which sounds very vague until you're going through it. But like for 8 weeks, I had to do that because I couldn't see past what I was functioning from, which would be the diagnosis. Like I couldn't see past, survival and just like barely making it hand to mouth. I had to like introduce me to something different, sort of thing, like show me something. Is there a different reality I can choose from? And, is there a reality where I'm not limited and like I have all this, show me. So that for me was really, really an essential component of finding another choice. Because I think that's one of the things that happens with diagnoses or what we've gone through is it becomes who we are. It's like all we know. And that's partly true that it's all we know. We haven't exposed ourselves to a totally different reality. And how do you do that? So I had to really go after that to be able to find different choices.
Yeah. And I'm really getting that the more I train my attention to what I'm desiring rather than what I see in front of me, whether it be financially or health or whatever, that is then creating a new reality for me where then things just start to drop in with ease. Yeah. Like I'm thinking of the money piece, and because I was noticing how like it was like 6 months ago and during the move that I was really going into like, oh, scarcity. Oh, we're stretching ourselves too thin. That's why that's the story I kept saying. We're going to stretch ourselves thin. And then what do we do? And so then I was like, okay, this is not the vibe. So I've switched now to, no, I'm going to spend time like in the bath, visualizing, well, what is that luxury car? How does it feel driving it? And not going into the, how do I figure this out? How do I just enjoying the visualization process. And then it's like, oh, and then the fancy loaner that I talked about, or just like new potential one-on-one clients are coming in. I'm like, oh, okay, this is where we're going, not looking at what is.
Yeah, I did a conversation yesterday on a call. I titled it this right here, what if money worked for you instead of you working for money? But what ended up coming out in that was where I talked about how we typically kind of put our attention on the slurry. So like SLURRY, the slurry of points of view. Like slurry is kind of what gets created from mining operations or fracking operations.
It's not like a Slurpee, right?
Yeah, not a Slurpee, a slurry. And so I think what we're taught to do is like almost put into under a microscope the slurry, like what
Yeah.
are the components of the slurry, the PTSD, the things that I'm functioning from, and how that actually takes all of our energy and all of our attention away from looking for what's the different reality I can choose from over here. And that's really what I hear you saying is like,
Yeah.
I am cultivating a different reality for myself instead of putting any attention on this over here. And actually, I think that's probably our whole podcast of like, what actually renders us functional, right? Like,
To not look at the limitations or get trapped in them or the conclusions. And that's what I was telling my folks with diagnosis. It's like your diagnosis is a conclusion. Where is the
yes.
question? There is no question there. It doesn't leave room for any possibilities. So if we're functioning from diagnoses, then that's all we have. So I get that that's where we're looking at that, but then also the attention piece where, I mean, for me, it's like, it's definitely effortful to train myself to, nope, look over here. Nope, look over here. Look over.
Yeah, it's
Put
building
my
a new
focus.
muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm really aggressive and I like kind of I want to inspect my poop,
Yeah.
It's gross. I'm like, what's in there? What did I eat? How does that work? Instead of just like
for a
letting
while.
it.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
definitely requiring effort. So I guess for folks, so like this isn't just like natural for me to
No, this
choose.
doesn't happen to you. You actually have to like deliberately and persistently cultivate a new reality. What I've been doing is something similar. I've been really every day generating for myself this energy of like people paying me kind of money all the time. And literally when I started, I know you and I recorded a money episode last week, and I think it was that morning, I woke up at like 4 a.m. and I was like stressed and worried about, it was the first of the year. So of course, like how many people are stressed and worried about money at the first of the year? And I spent like 30, 40 minutes there, and then literally kind of body slammed my own, like, no, we're not doing this. And started deliberately generating that energy of like just notifications coming in and money coming into my PayPal. And what's really interesting is like in that last week, there's been over, I think, a lot. There's been thousands of dollars that have come in just like from choosing that. But what I knew about living in that energy was that I couldn't create from there. Like I was going to be handicapped by that. I was going to literally like strap myself to the ground and not be able to create. And that's why I got so aggressive with it, because I just knew that. I learned that. And so all week now I've just been, every morning I'm like, all that energy of like notifications coming in and my bank accounts filling and having money to take care of everything. And literally money hasn't stopped coming in. We're booking bars class clients and foundation clients, and like this class is creating and that class is creating, and that it's coming in from all directions. And it's kind of the first time that I think I've consciously, I think this was the first, like where I've done similar things before, but this was a really, really super conscious demand of myself and an active cultivation of this, and choosing as that has generated and continues to generate more kind of constantly. So money's easy and more money comes to me all the time is where I'm functioning from. Oof.
Well, okay. So, and then two things I took from that is, and we talked a little about this last week, like the intensity that's required, right? You're like, I'm pretty aggressive, so I had to.
Look at this. I just sent you money on PayPal. Thank you, whoever wrote that. I was like exciting. But yeah, cool.
Right. It's like you were in an intense like trauma and drama. So then you required intensity, potency with yourself to facilitate out of that.
Yeah.
And I was getting that over this past week, as I looked at it, I was like, oh, wow, I have a lot of points of view around the money can only come through my business.
Yes.
I can't receive it from other places, like just a random check in the mail or just, I'm like, oh, okay, well, pocket pod that, because I don't want to function from that.
Yeah. How many different ways can money show up for me?
Yeah.
Like money surprised me today. Hey, can I have the money, please? Like,
yeah.
And, in the back of this book, and I did this on the call yesterday, but this is such a great book. There's these additional tools you can use. I won't read this whole thing, but there's a really quick and dirty one, which is, ask and you shall receive is one of the truths in the Bible. And there's a lot of stuff in there that isn't true, but this is hidden. This is true. And the thing is basically like, have you asked for what you want? So most people are like, no, I didn't ask for it. I just kind of like worried about it, stressed about it.
Yeah.
Hoped for it, wished for it. And then he goes, So you got to ask for it. So, and the way that you can ask for it is what would it take for fill in the blank to show up? So the way I play with this is I get really clear on what I require. And then I'm like, okay, what would it take for this or greater to show up with ease?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last piece of that little section is this. Once you ask, however, you got to be willing to do what it's going to take to generate the money that you're looking for. So I was like, oh, that's interesting in the ask and receive section. It's like, you got to ask, but then you also got to show up for yourself and be willing to do and be whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to get in a totally different, probably terribly articulated way, like what a dance it is between choice, the choice to have it, the ask for it, the willingness to receive it in whatever way it shows up, the willingness to show up for yourself in that moment, like whatever it takes. And then the paying attention as you choose to the awareness you're getting from the choices so that you can choose again and choose again and choose again and institute this ask that is being contributed to you that you have to really listen for and relax into and then move when it's time.
Yeah.
Like it's,
Okay, so with that, because what
Yeah.
I'm looking at is like, well, perhaps my asks have not been big enough because it's like I'm looking at this energy where I'm like, well, I don't want to be greedy and I shouldn't be too spoiled, like only ask for so much. And so I'm looking at asking bigger. However, when I have an ask and then somehow I'm like, I come like 2/3 of the way. Like what
Okay.
shows up is like 2/3 of it. So I'm wondering what that is. Like I'm asking for a certain amount, and then it's like 2/3, 3/4 shows. But like, what would it take for that or greater, kind of as you're saying, in that energy for it like to really surprise me?
Well, one of the things I've looked at with that is one, am I putting a particular time frame on it? So for example, like
Mm-hmm.
I got clear on my business and let's just put some numbers to it. So I'm like 30 grand a month is a functional business, right?
Yeah.
That's a functional life and business for me. Cool. So am I putting a time frame on like, okay, well, it has to show up in this first month that I've asked for,
Right now, tomorrow.
Right? And I'm like, well, I was for a second. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to let this go and go, okay, cool. I'm going to choose everything that I can see to choose. And I'm going to show up for myself, and how it shows up is how it's going to show up. What I also look at is how I made some decisions about this amount of money that I don't actually require right now. That isn't really like necessarily congruent with what is what I require showing up. Yes.
Yeah.
Does it always show up? Yes. Some of the stuff I decided I wanted that fell into this number, is that actually required? No. Can I have it? Yeah. If I keep going, will it show up? Yeah. So there's this like, I wonder what else is going on, because I see too, sometimes people say, well, I'm asking for this and it's not showing up. And I'm like, okay, well, let's break down the ask. Like, what is this?
Mm-hmm. And whether like points of view are you holding about it, or where are you limiting it? And that's where I was getting like, oh, I kind of like had the point of view, oh, I can't make that big of a leap, or
Yeah.
right.
And so then you get to look at all the things you're
All the
doing
points of view,
unconsciously that you're not really looking at that are creating. Your unconscious shit creates too.
Yeah. Isn't that fun?
Well, anyway, so clearly we can talk about money all day.
I know. Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you guys have any other things you'd like us to look at? Do you have any requests for episodes? Things you'd like us to? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, I get this is like a new vibe,
Maybe
a new us,
after we record next week, then.
a new radio station.
Yeah, cool. Clearing past lovers. Okay, maybe say more about that. Any others?
Does that sound like entity stuff again?
I don't know. The entity stuff came up last week.
I know, it's big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get there's a lot around that with like symptoms as well, I guess, within diagnoses.
All right, you guys. Well, we're going to hop off and we're going to go record some stuff. And I got next week, we'll probably show up after the show since that seems to work a little different. So cool. And I appreciate you guys being live with us. And how does it get better?
Okay.
Onward. See you guys next week. And we'll have some new fresh material for you very soon.